We are still at the Grand King Race Shops at 8155 Crawfordsville Road in Indianapolis. And as the isolation starts to lighten up, you need to stop by here. It is a working museum. You can see cars behind me. They're Grand King built cars. This place is full of cars. And if you're interested, take a look at the history and see the pictures and some of the things they have collected over the years. You'll enjoy it. So stop by here. Today's show is presented by Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the NTT IndyCar Series, the SVRA, and McGilvery's Pub and Speedway. Founded in 1993 to spearhead Honda's entry into IndyCar racing, Honda Performance Development has overseen successful racing efforts at all levels of the sport, from karting and quarter midgets to IndyCar and prototype sports cars. HPD offers race engines and competition products for professional, amateur, and entry-level racers. For more information about HPD and the company's racing product line, please visit hpd.honda.com. A couple of things to mention. We have a new computer guy. If people have the problems with their computers that I do, he's the guy to call. It's A+ Affordable Computer Doctor, and Steve Freeze is a doctor. He makes house calls. Give him a call, talk about your problem, see what he can do to help you. Number is 317-328-0766. If it's time for your favorite doctor visit with a dentist, go to the best place in town. It's the Indy Dental Group. Indy 500 veteran Dr. Jack Miller and his wife, Dr. Liz Lewis, have one of the top practices in the state. Give them a call, make her an appointment. Number is 317-846-6125. I forgot to mention that today is Dario Franchitti's 47th birthday. That's Tuesday the 19th. That's his birthday. And I need to mention, I have forgotten on the passing of Larry Curry. I knew Larry not well, but well enough. He came and did the program a number of times. I want to send our condolences to his son, Matt, and the rest of the family. You wonder why these guys and gals like driving Indy cars? Well, why not take a ride in a two-seater? You'll find out. You can go to indyracingexperience.com and pick out a date that works for you. And then in the promo box, put DK1, you get a 50% discount. Or you can call Shonda at the office at number 317-243-7171. If you're looking to upgrade your home, car, or commercial insurance, do what many of us have done. Go to VP Insurance. They're located at 5004 West 16th Street in Speedway. Mike Pardee at man. Give them a call at number 317-248-0070. And if you are into vintage racing and like to see what's going on, you got to go to svra.com and subscribe to Speed Tour magazine. Give you all the inside scoop and some great stories, great pictures on what's going on with Trans Am, the vintage cars. You'll enjoy it. It's great. It's svra.com and subscribe to Speed Tour magazine. And should you want to come and take a tour of the facility, give them a call before you come down and make sure they're here and open the office. The number is 317-820-3595. My guest today is a gentleman that I've been chasing, and I wore out a couple pair of shoes, but I finally caught him. And thanks to the pandemic, he's had to be in town and now has the time to spend a little bit with us. He's a former race car driver, a champion over in Europe, came to Indianapolis, and he did quite well for himself. He is a co-founder now of a company called Coforce. He was a broadcaster with NBC Sports, so that's on hold at the moment. But I'm glad to have him take the time today. Please welcome the Viking, Anders Krohn. Anders, welcome.
Thanks so much, Don. It feels weird to not be at McGilvery's right now. It's, I feel like I'm so used to going there on Tuesday nights, and suddenly here we are using the interwebs. So a bit of a weird experience, but it's good to see you, and good to see you're keeping well during all this craziness.
Yeah, we're doing our best. I get out from time to time. Otherwise, we don't eat. But trying to be careful as everybody is. I'm looking forward. Hopefully, things get going. Was it hard for you to give up driving to go into what turns out to be a very successful business, Coforce? But was it tough to get out of the car and say, time to do something else?
Well, I feel pretty fortunate from my perspective in that I already kind of found the path that I wanted to follow when I was done driving. And I certainly know a lot of drivers that don't find that for months, sometimes years after they're done driving. So I think for me, I was fairly fortunate in that I'd found another passion in the business, and then the broadcasting stuff following on from that as well for years. So I feel very fortunate. There's still the odd occasion where I get a little jealous, where I think to myself, man, I really wish I was in a car right now. But 9 times out of 10, I'm very content with what I'm doing.
Now, you're a co-founder of Coforce. What does Coforce do?
So Coforce is a digital media marketing and video production agency. So we work with a lot of drivers, teams, and sponsors in IndyCar and other forms of racing, and also in commercial business as well, optimizing their marketing efforts. So had a chance to work with a lot of great companies inside of racing. So it's kind of, even though I'm out of the cockpit, I still get to be involved in racing. So it's a lot of fun.
How many people do you have working for Coforce?
So we're a staff of 11 people, and that's the full-time staff. And then aside from that, we have some part-time people that come in for certain events. We expand a lot for a lot of the bigger IndyCar and IMSA events. So, but yeah, we have a lean, mean fighting machine. And I'm actually sitting at the office right now, and it's weird because we've had our offices shut down to everyone for the last month and a half, 2 months, and we're doing it for another month. So it's basically just me at the office, and it feels a bit strange at the moment.
What is it now? If I was an IndyCar team and I had a sponsor that wants exposure and so forth, and I want the world to know about my driver, what can you do for me? Do you have your own production people and your own production equipment, or do you go somewhere and lease it?
No, we're fortunate in that we have all of that in-house, and a lot of it is centered around the digital media marketing efforts, so mainly social media purposes. And so where we kind of started is with building a digital strategy for whether it be the teams or the partners that are involved. And then from there, we then go out and produce and execute this strategy, whether that is from a video production perspective, PR, graphic design, social media perspective. So I think it's a really cool challenge in first being able to understand, okay, what type of value is this team trying to show to the sponsor, or what sort of value is the sponsor trying to get out of the partnership, and then how do we enhance that through our digital efforts? So it's a lot of fun. I love it.
Does it give you the opportunity to go to a lot of races?
It gives me the opportunity to go to too many races, actually. I've been to about 30, 35 events each year now for the last few years. So 2020 is actually the year for me of trying to scale back on that a little bit and only do about 20 events this year is the plan anyway. But now with a condensed schedule, it may be 20 back to back.
What got you started in racing? You started in Europe, obviously, and being a Viking, it kind of says where you came from. How did you get into motorsports and into racing in particular?
Well, I actually had a chance to try a go-kart when I was 3 years old. My parents were crazy enough to let me try a go-kart when I was 3, and my dad had done some go-kart driving in Norway before I was born, and just let me have a go in a go-kart, and I guess I just loved it so much and didn't want to jump out, and that was kind of it. So then from when I was 3 years old to when I was 8 years old, it was basically just practice. And when I was 8 years old, I started doing my first races in England, actually, with the age limit in Norway being 12 at the time. So I raced my first few years England and Sweden, and then when I was 12, I had a chance to race in Norway once I was old enough.
You participated, ran in, and won in a number of series before you came here. What prompted you to leave Europe and come to America?
I was really determined. I finished second in the Pan-European Benelux Formula Ford Championship in 2007, I think, and really was trying to move my career forward, and was looking at options in Formula 3 in Europe, but also at the same time in F2000 in America. And in January of 2008, I had a chance to come into a test at Sebring actually with Andersen Racing, and yeah, the test went really well, and ultimately ended up signing with the team with no intention of really staying in the U.S. other than just, hey, we just try a year and see what happens. And boy, I'm so glad I did, because here I am, 11, 12 years later, and yeah, actually feel quite at home in the U.S. now.
Yeah, have you found, is there a huge difference between your home and here, food-wise, or you know, the way people are, the way the country is? Is there a huge difference, or is it not that bad?
There really is a big difference, and I think food-wise for sure. I think that was a big shock when I came over here, and culturally as well, a very, very big difference between people. But I think I've come to really appreciate those differences, and kind of take the learnings from Norway and from Europe and bring some of those values with me, and take some of the learnings from the US and kind of merge those with I guess you could say personal values. So yeah, significant differences, and you're even seeing it through a crisis such as this one with the coronavirus, how different it's talked about, and how different it's addressed from country to country.
You have married a young lady from here, if I'm not mistaken. So you become pretty much Americanized now. Do you get back home often? And have you taken your wife over there? And she said, "Wow."
Yeah, we've actually gone over quite a few times. So I only get a chance to go about once a year. But again, I'm trying to change that to be able to go a bit more frequently. But yeah, she's from the U.S. She loves Norway, though, especially in the summer. She doesn't really like it too much in the winter, as it does get a bit cold. But no, she likes it, and to be honest, I had it not been for this coronavirus thing, we had a plan to go back to Norway for a little bit here in the next month or so.
Does the media follow you? I'm sure they did when you were driving, but do they follow what you're doing now and keep up with the change you've made in your direction from driving the cars to helping people promote their cars?
Well, it's kind of funny actually, because it's much less frequent now, but there have been a few occasions over the last couple of years where some people have reached out and basically just wanting to write articles on, well, where is he now? Because I kind of disappeared off the face of the earth in Norway anyway, whenever I left in 2008. So every so often, some people will check in and see what I'm up to, and make sure that I'm still kicking, but not as frequently as when I was driving.
I mean, they don't hound you as much as I do on occasion.
You are persistent. I will give you that. They are nowhere near as advanced in their persistence as you are.
You got called in. I don't remember exactly why you were called to do broadcasting, and it went super well. I've told you on a number of occasions. I've even texted you at the end of a race. I thought you really brought a lot to the booth, and I found that over the years in coaching, for instance, some of the best coaches were not the best players necessarily. They had to hustle and work to be able to stay in the game. And when they've coached, they've taken that with them and passed it on. And I always was interested in listening, because I thought you gave a great analysis of what was going on. Look what can happen. I thought you did great. And now this year, you're out of it. Maybe temporarily.
Yeah, no. And it was originally, the opportunity to do it came from IndyCar Radio back at the Baltimore Grand Prix in 2013.
Right.
And they just called on me, asked if I'd be interested in doing the Indy Lights races that weekend. And I said, oh, absolutely. I have no idea what I'm doing, but sure, I'd do it. And then that led to an opportunity with NBC for the following year to do all the Indy Lights races. And then that kind of led to more opportunities with NBC in Indy Lights, IndyCar, Rallycross, and then eventually led me back to IndyCar Radio over the last 2 years as the lead driver analyst. So been very, very fortunate over the last 6 years now to have had that opportunity, and coming into 2020 as I've made a promise to myself to be a little bit less, complicate my life a little bit less than I had done by having so much going on. So I decided that unfortunately I had to step away from the broadcasting. So never say never, not saying that I'm stepping away forever, but certainly for the time being, it was the right call. And yeah, I'm sure I'm going to miss it though. When the flag drops for the first race event, I'm sure I'm going to miss it.
obviously you did step away because Coforce is doing well enough that you're needed, and you need to be on the road and making things happen. So I'm sure you didn't say, well, I'm going to starve to death, but I'm going to get away from it.
No, for sure. And it was down to the fact that we had grown so much as a company, and felt like I was dividing myself up a few too many ways, and really just wanted to devote my entire attention to running the company. So yeah, been incredibly privileged to be able to do that. And yeah, it feels weird to just have one job and have it be a full-time job.
What's your thinking on the season, not only for IndyCar? I just had Dan Andersen on yesterday, actually, and talked about it. But what do you see is likely to happen? They're supposed to start June the 6th at Texas with an empty stadium, which will be. I watched a little bit of the NASCAR race, and it just wasn't the same. So I wonder, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think August 23rd will happen?
Yeah, it's a great question, and honestly, I have no idea. I feel like the schedule changes every single day almost. So for us, it's sort of we tell ourselves here internally anyway that we can only plan 1 week at a time because things change so frequently. So for me, I try to not look too far into it and just say, hey, whenever we're going racing, and that'll be fantastic. So I have to say, though, I think all the racing series globally have done a tremendous job during this to try and stay relevant, to maximize their digital platforms, to get esports up and running, and to try and get racing resumed in a safe manner. So for me, I really have to commend them and say that they've done a tremendous job, but I don't think it's going to beat the real thing, that's for sure.
Have you had the urge to get in a simulator and join the gang?
I have actually, and crazily enough, I was looking at buying one, right as the big lockdown was happening, but all the deliveries and everything just were shifted for months and months and months. So I never actually ended up pulling the trigger, but I would definitely love to have it go in the simulator.
Get a hold of Kerry Bettenhausen; he'll help you.
There you go.
Has this slowdown in the racing series hurt your business? Has it slowed you guys down, or are you still, working with people and promoting those that are still involved, or has it hurt you a lot?
Well, I would say all things considered, we've been very fortunate in that all or most of the things that we do have been a big necessity during this time to keep people's digital media efforts going. It's one of the few things when there aren't any events, it's one of the few things that you can still keep promoting. So I'd say we're very fortunate in that instance. But as you know, we do a lot of events, and events account for a significant amount of our overall revenue. So for sure, we're not booming like we would have had there not been a coronavirus. But I think all things considered, we're very, very fortunate compared to a lot of people, and certainly feel for those people that have been much more impacted than we have with businesses shutting down and people losing their jobs and so on forth.
It amazes me, and I suppose, maybe when you started this business, you didn't realize how big it would become, but social media is huge, absolutely huge. And it's very, if you're a big company and you need people like yourself, because they don't know how to do it, but you do, that the social media is keeping a lot of things alive, I think, and keeping, the fans engaged. They can go on Facebook and then go on Twitter and, see what's going on. And I, as a matter of fact, 2 months ago, or less than that, actually, 6 weeks ago, I had no idea what Zoom is. I said, how'd you like to do Zoom? What the heck's that? I thought it was a car going Zoom. And here we are doing, and this is probably our 10th or 11th event. So, the internet and social media is huge.
Yeah. No, and it is, and it's enabled people to continue their messaging and engage with their fan base, and I think it's been absolutely crucial. And again, it's been cool seeing how creative people have gotten in trying to be able to engage with their fans and give behind the scenes access to what's going on. So I think that trend will continue for sure. But yeah, I think all of us are pretty excited to just get to an event here before too long.
I was just mentioning, we did an interview earlier today that when originally it was suggested to Eddie Gossage that they run the race with no spectators, he said no. Well, guess what? if everything goes as planned on the 6th of June, they'll do it with no spectators.
Yeah, it's a crazy thought, isn't it, to do it without spectators? But at the same time, that racing is much better than no racing at all. So I'm all for it, to be honest. And it'll be a strange sight. And I don't know if you had a chance to watch the NASCAR race, but I watched the entire race and actually thought it was a pretty good race. The only strange thing was victory celebration afterwards, when it was just completely empty and no sounds whatsoever. So I'm sure that'll be the only strange thing in Texas.
Well, I know slowly things are starting to open. There are some racetracks, at least around the Midwest, that I'm aware of, and actually out in California as well, that are starting to open up and starting to do some racing and allowing fans in with keeping the distance, so they're not selling all seats out there, you know, however number they're doing. So things are starting to pick up a little bit, and perhaps once that happens, you'll say, it's a good thing I'm not doing television because we're busier than all get out.
Yeah, exactly. So ironically enough, what it's done is it hasn't really taken down the count of race weekends that much, but it's certainly taken or increased the intensity, because we're going to have a lot of back-to-backs here once everything opens up. So I'm sure it'll be a crazy year.
Well, I'll tell you what, if it's a crazy year and it gets busy, I have no doubt in my mind that you and your staff can handle the additional business you'll probably get bombarded with. Now that it's open, we need to do this, 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 and this. And you go, oh, okay.
So yeah, we are fully anticipating that. So we're keeping full staff, and we're ready for the floodgates to open. So we're ready.
So you've been able to keep all your employees gainfully employed?
Yeah, and it's again, I feel so fortunate in the sense that we have had a lot going on, and we have we have very faithful clients that are staying with us through the times and taking advantage of our services. So yeah, man, I feel very fortunate, and just feel very, very bad for the people that have had to terminate their businesses, lose jobs and so on forth. So yeah, but at least for the time being, we're in a good position.
Well, I'm joining you. I'm in a good position too, because the only one that can fire me is me, and so far I'm not that smart. So we're taking advantage of what's available, and Zoom was it, and here we are, and get to talk to you. And I appreciate you taking the time today, because I know you're leaving town tomorrow. Is this the first trip you've made in 4 or 5 weeks?
It is. It's the first trip since March, so it'll be nice to get out of the house for a bit and just see a different part of the country. So.
And the wife says, "Have a nice trip."
What was that? Sorry.
I say your wife will say, "Have a nice trip," and don't forget your.
Well, she's coming with me, so it'll be nice. So yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, listen, I appreciate you taking the time. I always enjoy it, and I look forward at some point in time, I hope, and I'm still around, can hear and see you back in a broadcast booth. In my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, obviously, I thought you did a great job.
No, I appreciate that, Don, and always a pleasure being on with you, and hopefully we'll get to be on the show here in person before too long.
Well, McGilvery's is ready. They remodel a place and change everything around. They won't even, and I've been going there for 30 years, and they won't let me in the door to see what it looks like. So everybody will be surprised. We look forward to it. And at some point in time, when you're in town, if you get back in town for a while, we'll grab you again.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Don.
Thanks for your time. My guest has been Anders Krohn, the Viking. A super great guy. He was a heck of a good broadcaster. He's a good race car driver, and doing very well. We appreciate his time. We will be back. We have some more interviews lined up, some interesting, I hope. Until the next time, Don. Oh, wait a minute. I got to mention something. If you have a kid that wants to be a racer, there's a good way to find out if they can handle it. The Andersen Race Park in Palmetto, Florida. They got karting, and they got teachers. They got everything you need to find out if your kid can drive a car. If they have that, so if you get a chance, go down to Palmetto. If you're in Florida, stop by the Andersen Race Park, give it a shot. And also, if you haven't subscribed yet, you need to the Classic Racing Times newsletter. Got a lot of great stories and great pictures. And the story on the latest issue is Ferrari's folly at Indy. It was Johnny Parsons' saga with Enzo Ferrari as it unraveled. Good stories. You'll enjoy it. Go to classicracingtimes.com and subscribe. You won't be sorry. Until next time, Don Kay saying thanks for being there. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Good night.